you know that. Yeah, so really happy to be here. Miranda had come back to ask me to kind of expand my talk to go over some of, shed some light on our policies, pesticide policies and roadside management challenges. So I definitely wanted to jump on that opportunity because I know how important the work that we do impacts all the work that you guys are doing to protect our natural lands. So thank you so much for that. And so I am a senior environmental scientist with Caltrans. My background has been in wildlife conservation management, and I've kind of switched a little, well, not switched, but added a little bit of work into vegetation management. I work with our vegetation control plan, and I'll get into that, what that is. But I provide the pesticide recommendations for our crews. I work on the vegetation plan. And so I'm pretty new to Caltrans. I've only been here just over a year and a half. My area of responsibility is San Francisco, San Mateo, and as of last month, Santa Clara. So this area is brand new to me. So please feel free to kind of reach out. All right. So here's a nice picture of a roadside. Lovely. But I wanted that to be a little bit more relevant for the Stink Fest today. So there you go. All jokes, all jokes. But all right, let me tell you a little what I want to talk about today. I'm going to get into a little bit of our veg policies. Really, I'm getting to priorities, internal priorities, and we are very much driven by external priorities as well. I am going to be spending quite a bit of time on talking about our vegetation challenges. And this isn't going to be kind of complaining just for complaining's sake. Really, the goal of what I want to talk about today is explaining the challenges that we're dealing with so that you can understand and we can try to circumvent the process and collaborate together. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is there is a lot of work happening to improve maintenance. So I will touch on that and then briefly talk about the collaboration opportunities that we can do. Okay, so a little background, vegetation control policy. This was an old policy, and it was heavily relied on pre-emergent chemicals, much more than we do today. In the early 90s, there was a heavy amount of pressures from the public to put on the use of the pesticides. So in 1992, Caltrans decided to do an environmental impact report. And within that report, they incorporated integrated vegetation management methods, which was new to Caltrans at that time. They also went one step further to go ahead and make commitments to do reductions in herbicides and pesticides, but particularly we're talking about herbicides here. So as of 2000, Caltrans reduced its pesticide use by 50%, and still there's ongoing efforts to reduce that further. All right, getting into the blue, this is the maintenance manual. So if I didn't mention it, I'm with Caltrans Maintenance. All right, so we're the ones on the roadsides. So this is the maintenance manual is our guiding document. Within that is the vegetation control chapter. This is, what we look for. And then the pesticide policy that we have basically is going to be section 3. It's our pesticide use section within that. Getting into the next one is the VegCon. So this is more my world. That's the annual vegetation control plan. And what that is, it's a specific segment design. So basically, when you think about my sections, I have San Francisco, San Mateo, and Santa Clara counties. A lot of area to be covering, but we're going to be thinking about what needs to be controlled for every segment of those areas. So you can imagine there's going to be a lot of information in there. And I think I'll maybe save it for the next slide. All right. Then the last thing is implementation. This is huge. this is the guys out on the roadways, and sometimes it can be, challenging. What we have in the VegCon plan is a design. That's the plan. But things, once they come to actually implementing, can change a little bit. There's a lot of different priorities that these guys are going to have to face. All right. So jumping in a little bit further, I hope you can read this. I'm not going to read this for you, but this is a list of the different aspects that us vegetation control managers need to take into consideration when doing the vegetation plan. There's a couple, there's aesthetics, you can see. That is a big priority for many Californians. And we are a very public agency, especially with roadsides. Everything that we do, the public sees and has an opinion about it. So this is a plan. I write recommendations. I am not a supervisor. I don't have any control on what is done and what is not done. Guess that's, leave it there. So then I want to just bring into attention the environmental sensitive areas. We call them ESAs. Maintenance, ESA means something different to maintenance than it does to biologists. But we basically, these areas in our veg plan, we can roll it all up into one and just say, okay, whether it's, a threatened or endangered species, there's an, archaeological site, somebody doesn't want to, spraying pesticides on their driveway, any of those concerns we can identify as an ESA in our plan, and it can be excluded from any kind of pesticide applications. And as I mentioned before, reach out to me about this because, we can work together and what areas are sensitive to you all. Okay, so did want to get into some of our recent priorities. And when I say recent, I'm talking about, storm control has always been an issue, but as you know, in the last few decades, climate is getting a little bit more severe. So I want to go into, this is also, I want to say, this is just from a District 4 perspective. District 4 is the Greater Bay Area District. This is ours. All of, California, in Caltrans has their own challenges, but specifically, I'm talking from a District 4 perspective. Okay, and so here's a couple of numbers for you all. The storm control, we've had 918 storm control events just in the last year in District 4. This first picture is just from Sonoma County 2 weeks ago. Lots of efforts. So a lot of times our guys, we have vegetation crews, vegetation and design, or vegetation and landscape crews. However, they can be regularly pulled off of vegetation projects and brought on to other, emergency and priority concerns. All right, then the second picture is fire concerns. We all know this is a huge issue across the state. Fire starts just in our district. We've had 33 vehicle fires, 28 brush fires, and then 25, and I say other, but it's primarily from homeless encampments. The majority of all fires really are started within the first 10 feet of roadways. So huge liability for Caltrans. And then encampments. We have the unhoused encampments also along the side of the roadway. Huge problem. 371 encampments were kind of dealt with. And this is not fun for anyone. This is not fun for the guys out there to clean it up. And I have heard from them, referring to it as housekeeping, because they go and they clean up, and then the next week it's back again. So it does feel like a drain on our Resources. Okay, I have really got to go through my slides. So maintaining driver safety, these are top challenges. Okay, we talked about this, Okay, Bay Area labor shortage, really focusing on this. Kind of a really significant issue. So we have all these little pop-ups, everything is related to it. So I'm just going to move on. A little bit about environmental. The previous presentation went over this. This is great. In the Bay Area, we have 2 stipulated injunctions that are regarding pesticide use. This one is for the 11 species in the Bay Area. All these, the red areas in the maps are showing areas that these particular pesticides in the next slide cannot be used. Here we go. These are all the pesticides just for that one injunction. That's not too big of an issue for us because it's really just the oxyfluoroquine that was an issue. And then we also have the red-legged frog injunction. Kind of went into a little bit of that. Different set of pesticides, but this one you can see glyphosate and triclopyr are both listed on that injunction, which is problematic for us because those 2 chemicals have high efficacy for stinkwort. Okay, getting into our kind of what this looks like in real life, mowing. Here is a life cycle of stinkwort. This is our mowing window. You can see it's a pretty big window, flying through this a little bit, but ideal window for stinkwort is going to be later in the summer. But can we always time it that way? No, not really. We can't do that because there's so many challenges. If we push it too late in the season, we're coming up against, illness, heat restrictions, so many heat restrictions, and your risk for not being able to have any treatment is getting higher and higher. So if we do it earlier in the season, that's posing some challenges too for not being able to treat. Also, this window is going to be even smaller for the different crews because different crews have different restrictions. So we don't have enough equipment. So then they have to have a contract for equipment, and then they can only use it for a month or 2, and then you have to transition. So lots of challenges there. Okay, herbicide applications, kind of the same slide, talking a little bit. We do basically two treatments, and this is for our priority bare ground strips. We have a priority for bare ground strips because that's meeting most of the objectives for us. So we do a pre-emergent and with early post-emergent, and then also a Caltrans, a post-emergent window, which is going to be, during the springtime. All right. So again, there is an ideal time for treating stinkwort, but there's also an ideal treatment for any specific target, but we really do need to focus on our fuel reduction. Okay, quick, I'm gonna fly through this again. This picture outside of Sacramento on the 5, this is a big corridor for stinkwort, getting into kind of that section. Looks great. Last year, looks like they already mowed as of March. Here it is in January. Last month, I took this picture. You mostly see a lot of the Russian thistle here, but also Detrichia is there as well. What may look like a simple tweak for us to do our management is actually a whole heck of a lot of work. But you can see our bare ground strip is intact. Okay, so Office of Vegetation Management. This is a relatively new office in our headquarters. They are making really big changes to make improvements. And I'm not going to get into it right now, but there is, hope for our future. However, currently the weeds are still growing. So I'm here to deal with that. Okay, so options for collaboration. This is, I want to kind of really impose this on you all. I think working together is one way that we can kind of move forward with this. There are no fee permits, and there's other aspects you can see through there. And I have the resources that you can go to the website in our encroachment permit to get more information, but just letting you all know that we can collaborate together. Roadside maintenance really is, uh, we shine in our roadside safety. So that's something that we can kind of work with and provide roadside safety for those if we can get some people to help out and do some management along the side. So last but not least, we have these customer service requests. If you're not familiar, you should let your voices be heard, because unfortunately, noxious weeds are not generally high on the priority list for all Californians. We're all very unique people, and I appreciate you. But we do need to make our voices heard and let us know, because when we do get public requests that are regarding noxious weeds, those conversations happen internally. It gets going. So I'm going to leave you with that. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Any questions from online? Okay, then we'll go from the room. That's great.
Hi, I just wanted to ask about the Adopt a Highway program. Does that cover vegetation management too, or would that be something completely separate?
I think that it does. Don't have a lot of information on that. I don't have a lot of information on that, so sorry. I think so.
For your bare ground strips, is that mainly created by pre-emergence, or how do you maintain the bare ground strips versus the inner vegetation strip?
Yeah, it's mostly going to be pre-emergent.
I have a question about the new office that you were mentioning. What, can you show that slide again?
Sure thing.
Is that going to be that's just for vegetation management after, this is just maintenance. So it's just post-project maintenance kind of vegetation management, not project, not project considerations or construction.
Yeah, it's this is all for maintenance. But they're going to have, they have a big involvement on what's going to be happening with our roadside maintenance.
Question online?
There's a question online. Did you say what herbicides you were allowed to spray at CDOT? I see the ones you can't.
No, I didn't say that. But what we do have, we have an approved materials list, and it has a variety of the different materials that we can use. And that can be found online.
Was there another question over here?
There is, but we can take the next in person.
Okay.
How stable is your funding, and how strategic do you, from your perspective, do you see your agency is laying the goals and objectives of what you're doing in the maintenance?
Well, the goals and objectives, I think right now, that's really getting into kind of the headquarters territory. They are working, they have a pesticide technical advisory committee trying to deal with, some of the different pressures. There are implementation plans kind of happening as we speak. So I guess my only thought of that is that it's just new right now, and it's currently being considered. And so, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential for improvement, which, I think for the District 4, you know, can use some help here. But, you know, we'll just have to see how